Jilly, yeah, I could talk about anything with you all day long.
I love you.
I love you too. This week has been crazy. I don't know if you noticed, but I had the one video where I shared my receipts kind of blow up.
Yeah, I did see it.
So I don't know if you've had this happen to you yet as a creator, but anytime that happens, the trolls really come out in the comments.
I mean, for myself, I don't really post any like receipts or anything like that. It's just I can't get behind it, but more power to you for posting that. That's real as fuck. So, can I curse on here?
Yeah, you can curse wherever you want. There's no rules. Nobody really listens to this. There's been like 100 people. It's fine. We're just doing it for ourselves, really. I feel like at this point it's just like me and all of my friends and my mom apparently talking nonsense.
I mean, hey, let's document the shit that goes on in our lives because I feel like it's so crazy.
I know it is. It's been crazy. No, I like for a while, like my TikTok started for tarot and then but I like making all their content. I always
Yeah.
have and I like doing comedy stuff and I like getting on the trends. So for a while I had like the three separate TikToks, but like I just put it all in one because who gives a fuck? But now the ones that go viral have nothing to do with tarot or spirituality. Do you remember the cold store one I made?
Yes, that one was crazy. But I feel like all of the ones making fun of yourself are what goes viral.
Yeah. I mean, it's all shamanism, so it's all core to like what I do. Because
Yeah.
even this last week being stressed, I had another little cortisol cold sore breakout and I had to go get my vasectomir, which because of the comments, I now know I can take. There was that thing got 100 or no, 1.3 million views, the cold sore video.
I know because I think also people like to see other people struggle and they're like,
Yes.
I'm just gonna hop on this because it's funny, or she's struggling, which is sick. But like, hey, you get the views for it, so fuck it.
When I'm scrolling, if I see hot tea, I go through the comments and I look to see what's going on. Like I do that.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like my feed has changed so much that
Yeah.
it's not what it used to be. So I used to love the content I would get on my For You page,
I
and now
know.
I hate it.
Oh, it's a mirror of where we are. Remember when
I
it
know.
like when it TikTok started out, mine was all like really funny, just people falling and dancing videos, and like now it's all like twin flame this, your
I
person is
know.
coming. It's the same tarot that I do, but I hate it.
It's funny how your For You page goes in waves because when I was
Mhm.
great on my twin flame journey, I didn't see any of that.
Yeah.
And then the second your twin flame journey or your person and you separate or whatever goes awry, boom, right on your page. Shit's hit the fan, but they're coming back. They're only for you. The third party. I'm like, no, be quiet. I was like, I know I do
Yeah.
this too, but be quiet. I don't want to hear
I know. I feel like the algorithm is God. Like it's fucked
it.
up, but it's like it's too real sometimes. I'm kind of in a stressed out place about it too because a lot of spiritual creators are like or at least the ones in like that I come across are just not getting as many people on lives lately, not getting as many bookings, not and I'm sure and I noticed too like it is more flooded with them than I guess even a
Mhm.
year or two ago. But I think there's always room for that. And I told you too, there's just cyclical times. Sometimes it's slower and then sometimes it's busier. Um yeah. But the last algorithm change it changes back. It'll change back. But this
Yeah.
last one has been affecting the lives differently. I don't give a fuck about views as long as I have enough clients to feed my family and like pay the
Yeah.
rents.
I mean,
But
for me, I think I even like my last video has been 2 months ago. I stopped making videos and I was like, fucking, I'm just going to go live. I'm just going to do private readings because that's what I enjoy doing. I don't
yeah,
enjoy sitting there making videos all day long unless I'm
yeah,
really feeling it. But the lives, they've been a little stressful lately. And I think it is because there's so many people like, I do tarot, I read tarot. And it's like, you have to find those people like you're like this, I'm like this, where I read tarot, but I also get downloads when I'm
yeah,
reading. Like it's not my cards telling me what's going on. It's how you feel, it's what you're getting. And I think that's the misconception is there's so many people that quote unquote can read tarot. Yeah, I can learn what Three of Swords means, but
yeah,
it's how do you interpret it to your client. And
yeah,
it'll get back to normal. People will start booking again, getting on live. It's
yeah.
all patterns.
It's well, and it's what we do is intuitive tarot. and like I thought when I came back from that last retreat, like how I can throw bay leaves now and like matches and like it's reading energy, and I thought that was dope as fuck. Like I prefer those over tarot, but people seem to be more psyched on tarot. Like people just love it, and even like I'm like I could be doing mediumship, I could be journeying and talking to like you in a past life to get answers, but they'd rather see me pull cards, and that's I respect that, but it's so funny. It's just I don't really get it.
I think people need to see it tangible in front of them. Like, show
Yeah,
me what the card is and tell me how you interpret it. I need to see that it's actually coming out. I need to see that spirit is guiding me to this card. And
yeah,
it is ego driven, I think, because it's your own ego being like, well, just don't trust in what someone's saying. Like,
yeah.
see it because you want to feel that they're accurate or whatever it is. But that to me is just all ego driven, because I much rather do a shamanic healing with you. I much rather, get on
Yeah.
your table and you find crystallized energy than you tell me he's coming back. I want to work on myself, but people aren't there yet.
Yeah, and I just made that video today because somebody in the comments was like twin flames are unhealthy as fuck, and I was like, yeah, we nobody that I've done shamanic healing on doesn't agree with. It's not the relationship is still there, the journey is still there with that person, but the label itself is problematic. Like, and I think you having done that work with me too, like if you want to talk real deal, I go just have one of those sessions done because I am not smart enough to come up with some of the shit that I
No.
come out of those with. And I don't know anything about history, so I don't know how people lived in past lives. And I don't like some of the details I retrieve for some of you guys that have to do with things in your life that I had no idea about is just like, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. I don't think that, people understand the extent of it. Like,
Yeah.
I've done shamanic healings with you, what, 2 or 3 times now. I've come out of there with the most like crazy feeling. And it's not just because someone told you, oh, you were shot by this guy 3 times in the back in the 1920s, which was mine. But
Yeah.
it's like the feeling of, okay, wait, this resonates in my life because I have pains down there, or I have this, or I have, problems with my back, or whatever the case is. You're like, you wouldn't know that. We don't have those conversations where,
No.
oh, my back was killing me today. Like,
Yeah.
no.
No. I know that was the when I first started out. I remember Rachel, so Ray Baby, she's gonna do one of these coming up. But that one, the first time I did crystallized energy on her, so when I was just starting out, I practiced on you guys,
Yeah.
for free and stuff. Where I removed it from, she showed me later. I think she was the one. She had a big ass fucking scar there from a surgery, and I was like, yeah, because every life is just like a replay in those same
Yeah.
areas, and a whole bunch of people on live when I was doing live. It's wild. Like I remember the first paid shamanic healing I did was for one of my clients who actually has a pretty decent following on TikTok, but I knew nothing about her life. I knew nothing about her at all. And when I journeyed, it showed me this past life where she was a black man and she was a boxer, like in the 20s or 30s, and I was like, I do not want to come up and tell this woman this story. This sounds so crazy. And my guides were like, we do it. We talked to Mookie in the Peruvian tradition.
I
So
love it.
Mookie was like, do it. And when I did, she was like, okay, you're the real deal. And I was like, what? And she goes, well, my main spirit guide. She was more spiritual than I realized and more in tune. She goes, my main spirit guide is a boxing coach. My father was a black boxer. My kids, and I didn't even realize she was black. She didn't look, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
from the Zoom video. So I was just like, what? So then she's explaining the lineage and stuff, and she was like, no, that makes perfect sense. So I almost didn't tell her because I thought I would sound insane.
Yeah.
But
That's
it's, I
crazy.
know, it's the weirdest stuff that's why it's like, this journey is fucking wild. And some of the shit you've seen even happen in your life. Like I taught you, remember? I've taught you, so I know you know how to journey, but didn't one day when you were really upset, didn't I teach you how to die?
Yeah. You were like, you have to die. And I remember I was so in tune with my twin flame journey, and I was still talking to my twin at the time. And I remember you were
Uh-huh.
like, you have to die. So I honestly felt like I died. And what happened?
I'm just laughing at myself at the fact that like people even listen to me sometimes because it sounds wild when you say it like that. But yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, this woman's telling me to die, but okay, let's die. So I come out of this, I feel great. I talk to my twin, and I'm like, I just died. Like I had a whole awakening. He's like, yo, you're fucking stupid. Like you're this, you're that. And I'm just like, man, I had such a whole experience and you just took that away from me. And I think that's like the start of it, is realizing, no, you need to do things for yourself. You need to not listen to other people. Like if you sound crazy, you sound crazy. And that's just that. But
Yeah.
yeah, those experiences, like I have a huge birthmark on my back about this big. You would have never known that. You would have never known
Mm,
any of this. And it's just, I think it's the real deal. I think it's crazy, but tarot is where it's at right now. So
I know. Well, and it gets, I mean, like, there's nothing wrong with tarot. I love it.
no.
But it's in some of the stories, though, from my teachers, it, like, especially the shit that happens in Peru on those trips are like,
Oh yeah.
it's so real. It's so crazy. Like, you can't even, it's the stuff, it's just undeniable. But yeah, I don't know. And so, yeah, but I'm majorly hating on twin flames this week, if you didn't notice.
I feel that. I think we all go in waves in our own twin flame journey. Like I've really tried to let go of that concept. I think it's egotistical. It's doesn't really mean anything. If your other person is not spiritually woke, then you're trying to explain 900 times a day what a twin flame is, why you guys are connected, why this relationship is so dramatic. And it's like you're just feeding your own ego to try to make yourself feel like this relationship is better than any other relationship that you've been in.
Yeah.
And it's really not. I mean, it does put you through the ringer. It makes you learn things about yourself that you probably would have never awoken to or whatever the case is. But I don't like the label of it anymore because I believe that everything is karmic. Whether you're a twin
Yeah.
flame or a soul type, it's all karma. It's all karma from some way, somehow. Some is good karma, some is bad karma. It's karma.
Yeah, when my teacher Amy did the shamanic healing on me last week, and I came about this issue because it was just burdening me, because
Yeah.
I came in crying because I felt, I don't, did I tell you this? When
No.
I like by I happened to, so I was at that shamanic retreat, which basically like I I went through a big dark night of the soul coming out of that because we were learning divination, but in
Hmm.
order to do, and which I know, you know, in order to do divination correctly, even tarot, you've got to be able to ideally separate your own shit from other people's shit. So
Yeah.
the way of the shaman or the seer too is to know those things, and then you can figure out what your vision is for the future, and then you know what you need to look at to or changes you need to make or adjustments you need to make to manifest that into reality, right? So we spent the whole weekend doing that. So it was like a whole weekend of looking at my own shit, which is nobody likes doing that, you
No.
know, because you, even when you think you're gravy, you're not, you're just living in denial. And then, you know, you've got 20 other people on the path doing readings on you all weekend. So even if you're trying to ignore something, they're fucking saying it back to you.
Yep.
So, okay, anyway, I got to tell you that. Oh yeah, so that started, and then I went to Amy for a healing, and by this day, I am, because my whole vision, the whole time I'm there is just him, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't want it to be because he doesn't want what I want right now. You know what I mean? Like we're cool, we're not talking, but like he works all the time. He doesn't want family stuff. He doesn't want a relationship to be a priority. Like I do. You know, I want to have. I already have a child. I want a family.
Yeah.
So our visions don't match up, and I'm so upset about it. So by the time I get there on Tuesday, I'm driving. It's a 30-minute drive, like through the middle of corn, where I send you pictures of my Wisconsin drives. I am I'm bawling. And so when I walk in, she's like, well, grab a stone because I guess you're ready. I'm like, yeah. So I'm like, it's just embarrassing. And it's just so embarrassing because I love him and I want this with him. And I feel in my all my visions are him. And all I've done all this work on myself and they all lead back to him. And she was like, okay, so she said, but at the end of the session, it ended up being there was a past life where in that life he felt obligated to me. I ended up being whatever. We were like family members, but he was actually my goddaughter. I was an old lady. He was like in that life, but he was obligated to me to take care of me in my old age because I never had children as
Yeah.
my goddaughter, and he didn't. And then we healed things at the end of life, but she had to go back and do healing. So it's why he always felt obligated to take care of me even though he didn't, you know, and
Yeah.
he resented me for it. So she healed that part of it, and she did my healing around just like wanting to make a partner happy so much. And then after that, it was just like, fuck. But in the end of it, she said, like, whatever your twin flame soulmate person counterpart, it's all the same stuff, Ange. And I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, like, it's all, they're all just people that show up in our lives. But you can't, people have free will. And so it was like two things for me in the end of that. Like, people have free will to do what they want, and you have to love them enough to do that, but you also have to stand in your power and not just let them walk all over you. So like I wasn't doing that. And you know, there's nobody else I would let talk to me that way or just like put me on the back burner that much.
Yeah. I think that's everyone that goes through that twin flame journey. Is like, if you reread your old conversations with these people, I'm like, oh, holy shit. Like, this is abuse. but we don't
Yeah.
think about it that way because we love them unconditionally. And anything they did at the time, they were not healed enough, or they were not this, they were not that, we weren't. And so we let it happen. But
Yeah.
it's the truth. We have to heal ourselves and those wounds. And it comes from past lives. I truly believe we carry, wounds from our past life and trauma.
Yeah.
And that's why we are the way we are. But at the end of the day, it's what we have to choose happiness in the 3D, whether we're together in the
Yeah.
5G or whatever we're experiencing in the 3D right now. And so we have to choose what's right for us here. And that's just not right for us sometimes. And we have to stand our ground. And that's the hardest part, is like knowing that you're doing good, but it hurts so freaking bad.
Yeah. Well, unconditional love for ourselves first. I think that's what
Yeah.
people leave out. You don't need to shit on them. Just like I'm not like this piece of shit, blah blah. I'm just like, no, I'm choosing me, right?
Yeah.
But the other part is we do suffer soul loss when we don't stand in our power and we leak energy. And so like we can't explain it away because they're twin flame. And I think for me, all the fucking shit on TikTok and YouTube or wherever else that is like running from your twin is just running from yourself. No,
Yeah.
if they're taking advantage of you in this life, you can't just let them because you can't run from them. It's so fucking toxic.
The whole energy around twin flames is toxic.
Hmm.
Like, you bring up the runner and the chaser concept. That's crap.
Yeah.
It's not always someone's running and someone's chasing. It
No.
doesn't matter. Like, I don't believe in that. But the whole concept of a twin flame is super toxic. It's always to feed your ego. It's, they're not at their highest self right now, so we can't be together, and they have healing work to do. And yeah, all that stuff might be really true, but maybe you're just not meant to be together right this moment. Maybe there's a reason why you guys are not in union and there is separation. And that's,
Yeah.
you have to find the bigger purpose of that. Not always, like, for me, my biggest struggle was, I always, like, because there was a third party involved, so I always
Yeah.
blamed somebody else.
Yeah.
And that was like the hardest part. Like, no, it's me. Like, there's a reason why we're not together, and it's not because of this girl. It's something that has to do with me and my journey, and I'm going to figure it out. And that took a lot. And so when I see people come and they want to talk, oh, this third parties are involved, and there's someone stopping the relationship, I just want to shake them and be like, I get it, it's hard, but it's not her. She's
Yeah.
not the problem. So
Yeah. Well, and it's like for me even for me it was big when that other person went away that supposedly was like the only thing standing between us, and then all of a sudden it still didn't matter. There was just something else. You know what I
yeah,
mean? It's like, oh, and to have other relationships come in since meeting them that
yeah,
where they just love you right away and they're just good to you right away. Like I think like it doesn't have to be so hard. It really there are people
no.
that would just like to be with you for who you are.
Oh, 100%. And you notice that after, but then there's that, I feel bad, or
Yeah.
I don't want to cheat on them. But it's like,
I don't
that
feel that
whole
anymore.
thing it's horrible. Like, you're not with them. They don't want any part of you right now.
Yeah. Well, it's for me, like mine was trying to tell me not to be with anyone else, even though he wasn't gonna have time to see me and
Same.
he didn't wasn't gonna like in what world would we listen to that for anybody else if we didn't
No.
think and I think you can all the healing parts. I guess this is what fucks with me because letting go of it for me was hard. Like, what does that mean? I know I'm not crazy. I know I didn't make it all up, but if he's just karmic or whatever. Um, what does that mean? Well, you know what? Meeting him still spurred my spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
It still spurred all of my healing. I wouldn't have found shamanism. I wouldn't have found, there's a lot of things I wouldn't have done for myself if I hadn't been so nuts about him. So ultimately today, like, he doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, I think I'm at a place where I'm like, I got what I got from him and I'm good. Much like by the time I got divorced, I was like, I got my kid out of this guy. I'm good. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. It's weird because I feel that same way. It's, if we, you know, it's weird to get to this point because I remember talking to you a year ago on my floor, hysterically crying, like, I'm in love with this person. Why is he doing this to me? I'm never going to get over it. And now I'm sitting here with you in my own apartment in New York being like, yeah, we never have to get back together. Like, I'm chilling, I'm good. And that's fine. Like, I
Yeah.
am in a great place. That took, and I know that you're there too. And we have our moments, of
Yeah.
course, but that work that you have to put in for yourself is amazing, because who would have ever thought you would have gotten to that point where it's like, if I never ended up with this person again, I'd be okay.
Yeah, I think Sunday once I stood in my power and like sent that text of finally saying again this time. And that's why he said, "Oh, here we go again," because I've said it before and then I backtracked, but this feels different. I've
Yeah.
had so much more healing since then. And that sounds egotistical to say, but I really do. I just feels different. Like I really am just he's just some dude that I had a situationship with on and off for 2 years. And like I do think like he cut back on drinking and all of a sudden those like I love you calls and texts aren't happening all the time. So I'm like, I think that was like drunk him. Like I do.
But
I don't
drunk
know.
him is him in another state that's too
Yeah,
afraid in the normal state to express the love to you. So in that sense, like
maybe.
you have to, I think you have to hold on to the parts of him that were really beautiful, but then let go of the parts of him that weren't so beautiful and kind of just thank your spirit guides for introducing this person into your life, but thank them for also taking them away when they no longer served your purpose. And that's not to say that
Yeah.
in 6 months they won't serve you purpose again and be back. You know,
Yeah, I just want to be done. Honestly, like I just like and this last time him like saying, "Oh, you woke up a bitch today." Like he's never called me names like that before. So for that, that was just like I don't even know where we're at now. Like I just was like I think I'm supposed to be good. Like that's where I feel like. But we're just like I was supposed to believe he was my twin flame for 2 years, the better part of 2 years. I think even even like people with they're coming back tarot, we're supposed to see or hear or believe that things are supposed to lead us to believe whatever we're supposed to believe
yeah.
at any given time, and we can find out later we were wrong, but we still had to believe them during that part of our journey. That's what I think, anyway.
Yeah, it's funny because like I relied so much on tarot during my journey, but
Yeah,
for what? Like some of the things that were even said, and this is not a knock on anybody because even I read for my
yeah,
own cards, but like some of those things didn't even happen. But we
no,
were supposed to be told that story to put us at some point of like an easing mindset. It actually
yeah,
made things a lot worse.
yeah.
So, I won't forget booking tarot readings at 4 o'clock in the morning with random people that were on or awake, just being like, he said he was going to end this relationship tomorrow. Is he coming back or is he going to be with me? And then being like, yeah, she's packing her bag, she's out the door, she's this, she's that. And then being like, oh, I can finally sleep peaceful. Why? Because some random person on the internet told you so? No,
Yeah.
but you needed to hear that at that moment because that puts you at ease. And until you find other things that put you at ease, that was the best option. That was the thing that you needed to hear. And
Yeah.
I mean, it teaches you so much. Like, I don't regret spending all that money on tarot.
I know. Well, so when I met you, when was it? It was like spring of 2021, right? It was like
Yeah.
last year in like March, April, May. It was like right when I got started out, I think.
I
Um,
had just moved to Florida too. Yeah. So it was the beginning of all of that.
so you and I had like, at that time, I would be booked with one-on-ones, like
Yeah.
back to back. On top, I was working my day job and then like every night and I would get up at 5 in the morning and do ones with people overseas. Like it was crazy. And people were frantic. Everybody was frantic. But everyone's a mirror of you too. So it was a reflection of where I was at too. But yeah, I remember you being like at once or twice a week at that time and just being like so upset. Um,
Yeah. Crying, like could not control myself. I have Snapchat memories of like makeup down my face
oh, yeah.
and just like this crazy stuff. And you look back and you're like, wow, like I really grew. Like I really
Mhm.
did that. And I think the whole part, and like this is so important for I want to say anybody listening going through it is like
Mhm.
you don't know how much you grow until you look back on it. And then
Yeah.
you're like, wow. Because there were times where I would tell my twin, like, I grew so much and maybe you didn't, and maybe that's why we don't align anymore. But I can 110% assure you that I've grown way more than I have a year ago. Like I'm another person, and they're like, "No, you didn't. You didn't grow." And so
Yes. Yes. I
that
just got this
sets you
again.
back.
Like, and that's, I got that again on Saturday because I was in the middle of my Dark Night of the Soul Saturday and, he and I were texting about, I was just like, I realize now, like, what for me, my aha this week was like, I realized kind of what a fucking loser I was letting all these guys have access to me that didn't deserve access to me, and jumping into relationships with guys so quick that, because for a while, I was going through this phase where everybody I dated, like, right away would be like, I love you, be my
Yeah,
girlfriend, we're gonna live together, let's have a baby. And I was like, okay, because you're a soul tie. Like,
yeah,
it looks stupid. And I kind of had, I was going through a little thing where I was seeing other people, not you, but like I was seeing other people in my life do that. And then I was like, oh, that looks silly as fuck. Like I realize now how silly it looks. And I don't know, just a lot of like I was kind of going down faker path about how I looked and stuff, which is fine. Like I love makeup, I live, but like so he had been on me about those two things for months, just like I guess as a friend. I don't know why, but
Yeah.
and so I had said to him like, I see now that you were right on those things, and he was like, yeah, just like don't date losers and stop looking so fake. And I said, I just, yeah, I'm not doing that anymore. But like on top of it, like I just feel like I'm always such a fuck up because I made those decisions. So like we were, but he's just like, well, I've heard this all before. Like, and so I think that's where I'm like, yeah, you don't, and that's why I realized you haven't spent any time with me since May, bro. Like you don't
Yeah.
even know who I am anymore. You haven't seen these transitions. I get that you haven't changed, but other people certainly can work on themselves and change. So yeah, like I'm not gonna just take some fucking dude's word that I haven't done the work when he hasn't even seen me and once he has
Right.
no idea what's going on in my life.
Right. They don't talk to you about anything in particular that's deep conversations. And then they want to sit there and say, or they haven't seen you since February or whenever the case went, oh, you didn't change. You didn't do the healing work.
Yeah.
You didn't do this. You didn't do that. Who were you to sit there and tell me what I did and didn't do? Were you here every single night while I was crying or while I was journaling or while I was
Yeah.
releasing something? No, you weren't. So
Right.
don't tell me what I did and didn't do. And I think that is one of the most beautiful things because you sit there and you're like, okay, like I'm okay to defend myself. And if whatever this person says to me can't bother me. But it's hard. Like it does throw you off for a minute when they say things like, don't date losers or don't do this or don't do that. It's, who are you to tell me what I can and cannot do? And then you're like,
Yes.
wait a minute, they're right to an extent.
Yeah, there's always been this lesson that I learned when I was a little kid about like people who are going to do bad shit to you are always going to tell you to watch out for that bad shit. Have you kind of
Yeah.
noticed this before? So like when I was really little, it was this messed up story. My mom grew up in this small town, and like nothing bad ever happened there, but there was this 17-year-old girl that was murdered while she was working at a Quick Trip at a gas station. And it was this high school friend of hers, this other boy who was very handsome and very well liked. And he would come visit her on shift all the time and be like, you have to be more careful about who you let in here when you're closing. You have to. And he would come and he would tell her all this stuff. And he ended up beating her to death with a pipe in that gas station and killed her. And I don't know, I just stuck with me. And I was thinking about it. So I woke up Sunday morning thinking about that. That happened when I was like 7. Weird. And I was like, he's the fucking only loser I'm talking to, Joe.
Yeah.
He's literally the only loser I'm talking to because he has not done, he's the only person I've even, so remember when I met him, I don't just like, I'm not a situationship girly. I'm not knocking it, but I'm not a hookup person. When I was on dating sites, I went on dates with people, like,
Yeah.
dating for relationships. But when I met him, it was during quarantine and he convinced me, that it's not safe to, let's just meet at our houses. Wow. Meanwhile, while he was going to bars all the fucking time and I had no idea. Like it was just so he never has taken me anywhere. I've never been anywhere besides one of our homes with him. Like
That's
there's
so interesting.
I know he's like the only guy that I have not literally. I think maybe one or two like during a weird little phase, but you know what I mean? Like, but
Yeah.
that was intentional. That was not someone I ever had feelings for. Like it's wild. So I was like, he's the only person that has done nothing for me ever.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're the people that are like, oh, if you leave me, you're going to get so hurt. If you leave me, you're never going to be happy. And it's like, no, I was hurt and unhappy with you,
Yes.
not with somebody else. But they want to, it's again, like I'm the best thing that's ever happened to you kind of person. They don't want you to go. It's easy for them to play those psychological games than to own up to their shit. Because if they don't own up to their shit, then they have to heal. If they play the psychological games, then you're the crazy one. That's why they always fucking crazy. How many times have you heard from that person that you're crazy?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
Every day, every other day.
And that I'm stupid. And it's so funny because I said to him once, I'm like, what's funny? Nobody's ever told me I'm stupid except for guys that are sleeping with me. What does that mean? And he was just like, he just walked out of the room. But yeah.
That's hilarious because
it's true. It's not a thing that happens otherwise. I looked at him once. I was like, how many people told you you're stupid? And he was like, I don't like it when people. I was like, because I've never heard anywhere but from my ex-husband and you, basically. But okay.
Yeah, but that's the thing. They don't want to look inside themselves, so they project and they think that you're all these things, but that's really them. And it's sad. Like, I wish I could just, it's weird because I wish I could just shake my twin and just be like, you need to like man up and understand these things, because like honestly, if he went and dated somebody else, like I think he would treat them just as bad, if not 110% worse.
He has.
I know he has. I know, like for me, I feel like I was treated the best he's ever capable of getting treated.
Yeah.
And that's so shitty to say, because the things he did to me were absolutely horrible. But you know, at the end of the day, like I would just want him to heal for himself, not for us to ever be back together, because fuck that. Like I'm good. But for himself, like you have so much to heal besides a loving partner, like your family issues, your relationships with like yourself, like the way you feel about yourself. Like you wake up every morning and you don't like yourself.
Yeah.
That's really hard. Like for your twin, it was drinking. For mine, it was smoking, or, you know, chasing an awakening with, for me, like a high. Like that's not really chasing an awakening. And so we used to go back and forth all the time where he was like, oh, you have to take drugs to really find your spiritual awakening. And I'm like, no, you don't. Like, you don't need anything to find a spiritual awakening. And so, you know, it's just the way people cope with things. And I wish there was a way to tell them, you don't need to drink, you don't need to smoke. You just need to level up and like heal yourself, heal your inner child.
Yeah.
They won't ever see that.
I don't know. I feel differently, but I just feel like everyone either finds it or they don't. I don't really care, especially because mine is so, he doesn't fucking care. He's happy. He's like both hates his life and loves it, and he's at peace with that. So like he's exactly where he wants to be. So
yeah. So let him stay there.
He can fucking stay there. The day will like, and that's what I always said to him, because when he's like, I don't care, like, which, you know, he didn't say literally on Saturday or Sunday, but he might as well have. It's like, yeah, today you don't, but that day is coming again, buddy. I will hear from you. You will care on that day. And on that day, it's going to be done. And we went through that in July. And that's what I thought, because if you remember in July when I had a boyfriend, he popped up out of nowhere and was like, we're always going to be each other's partners. I need to see you. Like, this is it. And he tried to backtrack, like he just was drunk and he didn't mean it. But, you know, later. But I think for me, I thought that since then, once me and dude broke up, I thought like, okay, he's ready. He learned, because he did have some traumatic family stuff happen that I thought changed him. But it didn't. It was all just like, I don't know what would have happened if I would have went over there that day and broke up with dude that day. But I knew on that day I was supposed to tell him the fuck off, and I think it did break something in him. And I don't know. I think everything's meant to be the way it is. Yeah. Like he was never the same after that. He was cold. And I even said at one point, like, you haven't said I love you or even told me I'm pretty since that day in July that I picked my boyfriend over you. And he was like, yeah. So I know there will be a day where it all clicks for him, but I really just think I'm ready to move on. Like, and for me right now, I can't keep throwing myself into romantic relationships. It's a little different. Like, I got divorced thinking like, oh, I was just married to the wrong person. I love being married. So like, I'll just find the right person right away. And like, now I realize like, it's so cheesy, but I am my right person. Like, I just can't. There are things I want to do with my life. Like, I can't keep throwing all this energy into strangers.
Yeah, no, you can't. And I definitely feel like after, you know, a traumatic experience or a soul tie, you do end up finding a good person. When does it happen? There's no time to tell about that, but there is somebody, whether it's a friend, a boyfriend that comes in or somebody, but there is somebody that shows you the right way to be loved or to love. And again, you love yourself more at the end of the day to not agree to that disrespect, but it does come in.
Yeah. You know? And I mean, I even had that. I mean, I had glimpses of that in July and May with those two boyfriends I had this summer that were both lovely people. Like, honestly, it wasn't the right fit, but like, that's fine. They were really nice to me. So like, I know what that feels like now. I'm not going to ever settle for less than that, you know?
Right. And, you know, I do like, for you, it's different. I don't know why I feel this way, but I always feel like it will end up working out. Like, yeah, you know, when I see your twin flame relationship, I always think of like the little girl and the little boy on the school playground, and like he's always mean to you, but he's mean to you because he loves you. And I know that that's so sick to say, but because it sounds like, I'm like, oh, Jillian, like don't joke about that, because there are people out there that are like, oh, my husband, you know, is this way, but that's because he loves me. And it's like, no, don't get it twisted here. But I think you guys always find a way to have that love for one another. So maybe it's not now, but I don't know. I just don't feel like it's ever going to be to be closed.
I feel like for my own mental health at this point, though, I just have to close it and put it on a
Yeah.
shelf and say goodbye to it. Like I'm just done because it's I don't know why, but when I can't feel like I'm waiting on him, it makes me miserable.
Yeah. For me, when I knew it was completely done over, I can't ever go back, was when I knew I couldn't get over the hurt. When the
Yes.
hurt was so great that you just think about it and you're like, there's no way we can reconcile after this. Like, you just have to accept it and move on from it. And you're like, okay, yeah, that was really shitty. This person didn't do right by me. I'm okay though. Like, after that war, I'm still alive. And
Yeah.
so that's when I realized it was done. Is just there's just too much pain.
I think about, I've been at his house when he's been sitting like with his head between my legs and he's on his phone and there's girls texting him paragraphs and he's was cold as fucking ice to them. Just
Yeah.
like no. Like so I've seen how he treats people on the other side of it, but then he also had the one girlfriend who like had a key to his house and was there all the time. And so I've seen him give a lot less and a lot more to other people and I just don't like any of it. Like I know how he is and I don't think like that was always my thing like in the past years like what you're treating me like just some other bitch and he'd be like no I'm not. But he wasn't giving me as much as he gave. Like the one relationship he actually got into, real relationship, who was actually his girlfriend. And I think I said that to him a couple of weeks ago like I know that you're so mad that I was with dude in July and he was like yeah. And I said I don't want to not start anything, but I can't get over how much time you gave her that you never
Yeah.
gave me. And he was like, don't fucking start. I said, I'm not starting, but I have to say it because it's still, I don't think I can ever get over that.
Yeah. And it's hard because when they come back, right, and you're talking to them and you're trying to, for us, it's I'm trying to mend that relationship with you. And for me to mend it, I have to kind of open up and express to you my feelings. For them, they're so defensive about it that they can't even speak about it. And I think
Yeah.
that's the hardest part, is that's when you know you can't have a relationship with them, because what's hurting you so bad, they don't want to have any part of. They say you're playing the victim, you're this, you're that. And it's like you gave someone almost 2 years of your life and you let them move in and you gave them a kid, or you did this, or you did that, or
Yeah.
you did whatever you did.
Yeah.
Fine, that's okay. You did those things, but don't come at me when I'm trying to talk about it because it hurt me so bad.
Yeah. I know. Well,
That's
yeah.
hard.
I don't know too. It's like, if you ever felt this way, but like I recently was just kind of like, I literally, if I'm looking at it just straight on from a third party like point of view, not my own spiritual lens, I just look like the girl that every time he gets his heart broken by someone that girl he was dating, he calls me because I'll come over and say I love you and then he won't have to feel the hurt of that breakup. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to be that person either.
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely felt that way. I feel like for myself, when so we also started to talk during quarantine, and
Yeah.
so that's when a lot of these relationships came into fruition. And we had stopped talking because I ended it, actually. And so when he called me back that first time, he was like, I need to talk to you. And I was very dismissive. I was like, no, like, I'm not talking to you. Like, I'm done. I'm over it. But that moment that he called, he was really going through it. He had met the girl
Yeah.
and he didn't want any part of her. And so he was really going through it and he needed my help. And I was like, no. But after that, every time that there's something that went wrong with him, I was his only support system.
Yeah.
You were the only person that they called and picked up the phone.
Yes.
And it's hard because it's like, well, what if you went back to that day 3 years ago and you helped him? Where would you be right now?
Yeah. I don't think it would be any different because I
No.
help mine. I help mine every time, and it didn't make a difference. But I guess I do that with. I guess I do that with the day in July. But I knew that day in July I wasn't supposed to help him. I knew with all my heart, just like you
Yeah.
probably did that with that original day for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. You just know that you're not supposed to help them, but there's something in you that is telling you not to help them, but you want to help them so badly. And
Yeah.
then it spirals into this whole journey, but I don't regret any of it. I don't regret
No.
not picking up the phone, or I don't regret being cold. I still don't regret it.
Yeah.
And
I'm
it's
not
3
even.
years.
Yeah, and I'm not even embarrassed for being such a simp. Like I am not.
Right.
I love him. I will always love him, but like I will love myself enough to be like if you can't show that love on a daily basis to anyone in my life, then
Yeah.
like I'm not going to make your priority. And even this weekend, I wasn't trying to, all I started off the conversation by saying is, I don't want to talk about sexual things or send nudes. That's what I said. And he was like, whatever floats your boat, Bull, you're doing this again. Like, I wasn't saying I wasn't going to be friends with him or not talk to him. Like, if
Yeah.
he actually cared, he'd be like, all right, what's going on? Do you want, you know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't. The fact that he got so mad about that, like, it just proved that he was just using my attention to validate himself and go on with his life to me.
Yeah. Well, you feel sometimes in that kind of relationship, it's like, when you always looked for your parents for validation that you were doing
Yeah.
something right, or your teacher, whatever, that's you to him. Like, he always will look at you as someone to validate that he's doing things correctly, whether he admits that to you or not. He's always going to look there for that support, because again, there's no one that's going to love it so unconditional or so, hard like you do. But again, it's loving yourself more and choosing yourself every single day, not that shitty feeling. Because that's a really shitty feeling. I mean, we woke up in that for 2 years. It was terrible. And so for that, I don't think I'd ever go back to it.
I know. I think about those original calls with you, like you and a bunch of other regular clients at the time. Like, that's why I found shamanism. Because remember, I was just like, we need to find solutions for us. We can't live like this.
Yeah. I mean,
you're so stuck.
Like, I still sometimes do this, but I will never forget being, oh my God, it's a full moon. I have to go sit in my saltwater pool and write my manifestations and line and line and line and line with my crystals around me and my sage and this, and throw your bay leaf and burn it and put the ashes to the universe. I'm like, girl, you did all that for a man? Like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
But it's funny because I look back at some of those manifestations and they've come true like now.
Yes.
But not with that person.
No. Same.
So I think it's funny.
I found an old manifestation journal from like that, time too. And I mean, like, doing ceremony is a great part of a spiritual practice, don't get me wrong. But like, having it be so hinged on someone else, it's just like,
we'll never do that again. I never understood when I would like look at TikToks or talk to other people like yourself and they'd be like, don't manifest a specific person. I'm like, well, why not? I want that person. But you can't. Like, I will never put somebody's name in a journal again.
I know. I didn't rip the pages out, but I want to and burn them. I'm like, what the fuck? There's too many pages. It's so
Sleep with it underneath your pillow, spray your perfume, kiss it with your lipstick. And
I know. And then we're wondering why these men never leave us alone. God damn it.
You did it to yourself. It's all your own fault.
There is one guy I dated that still hits me up all the time. And I know we had period sex. It was like at the tail end, so he didn't realize. But I knew he's never left me alone. And sometimes I'm like, why does he still talk? I'm like, oh, I forgot. Yeah, I tricked him into period sex.
Well, I mean, people think it's crazy, but
no, it's real.
I tell my friends all the time, I'm like, don't have sex with random people. And I everyone can do what they want to do. Disclaimer out there. I was like, but that is the biggest energy exchange you could ever have with someone. So unless you don't want it, please don't exchange your energy that way. Yes. Or like period sex. It's true.
Oh my, it's a blood bind.
Yeah.
That's real. It's real. I know it's wild. The other thing too is like, I remember when we went all in on law of attraction.
I remember getting a text from you one morning and it's like, fuck law of attraction, we're going law of assumption. And I was like, yes, let's go. Law of assumption it is.
Yeah, wait, which one's which now? Wait, no, I'm confused. Which one was when we were hardcore manifesting our specific person? That's law of attraction. Or
that was law of attraction, but law of assumption was already thinking that it has happened. So we were sitting there being like, we're already in a perfect partnership with our person. And that was law of assumption because we were tricking our mind into believing.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. But that was like November and December last year. But we were like, remember when it all fell apart and we were just, I take law of assumption and I put that in the same boat as like doing hardcore uppers. Like, it feels great while you're doing it, but when you come off it, the crash is fucking hard. Like,
it was terrible. I will never forget. Like, I think when it all ended for me, I was actually visiting New York and I was just sitting in my hotel room and I was like, what the fuck just happened? Because it was right after Christmas time.
Same.
We were all sitting there like, this is going to work. This is going to be the time. He's changed. It's this, it's that. Mm-hmm. It's, after the holidays, they broke up. They're this. And then you're sitting there and you're like, okay, I'm by myself in a hotel room in another state
Hmm.
visiting this motherfucker and he never even showed up for you. You're dumb as fuck. Go the
Yeah.
fuck home.
That was for me. That's when I had major soul loss. Like
Yeah.
I literally broke my own heart after Christmas. And it's like the same, we both were on the same kind of thing. I didn't think I was gonna live through that. Like it was the worst. But a week later I learned how to do soul retrievals in my shamanic healing retreat, and training. So I was like, thank God. So now I
I
don't
mean, if
care
it
about like,
wasn't for you, I don't think I would have gotten through that period of time because I ended up deciding that I was going to say fuck everything that he was saying to me at the time and I was going to move back to New York.
yeah,
And so for me, I put my whole life at risk because I moved.
yeah,
And I remember doing soul retrievals with you before, and I don't think I would have gotten through the heartbreak of I'm not moving in with you right this second
yeah,
if it wasn't for that, because I found myself. And so, obviously we're not together and we haven't spoken, and that's great and that's so fine. But you never forget those moments that they made you feel like I really packed up a whole room
yeah,
and moved back 1,000 miles
yeah.
for someone to just be like, no, I don't love you. Sorry.
Yeah, it's crazy. I
Crazy.
know. That sucked. I
Yeah.
forgot I did soul. Yeah, it's like, but I learned soul retrievals at that time to be able to do them on those of us that needed it then too. It was like that work is beautiful. There's some things I had a breakup when I was in college that was so awful that I had to leave school.
Yeah.
Like my life was shattered into a million pieces and my addictions got really bad because I couldn't cope with it. And if I knew then what I know now, like I wouldn't have had to do any of that. I could have just seen a shaman, done a
Yeah.
soul retrieval, and been. I mean, but like I would think everything happens for a reason. But I love that we have these tools now.
Agreed. And I also love that I have all these terrible memories because they're not so terrible when you look back at them. You're like,
Yeah,
I really did this. Like, I went through this journey. I did a lot of stupid decisions. I made a lot of stupid choices, but look where it got you now. And I think we're all blessed at this moment. Like,
yeah,
would I have ever found tarot? No,
yeah,
probably not. Like, I found it in a way of like looking for other people, but even if you get 5 people on a live a night, even
yeah.
that, I'm like, I don't even do it sometimes like for the money aspect. I'm sitting here talking with people who are in the same position I was 2 years ago, and I'm
Yeah.
coaching them through how I got
Yes.
through it. And I'm like, that is the best reward out of everything, because I wish, I mean, I had it, but like, I wish at the beginning of my journey, someone would have told me like, you're going to be okay.
Yeah. Well, you went through a rough patch before we found each other too. Like, didn't you
Yeah.
pay somebody like thousands of dollars to
Oh my
rebalance your
God.
chakras?
You have no idea. Like, I will never trust anybody in my life again after that. But yeah, like I had met this woman on TikTok and she pretty much told me that my twin was having black magic done to him by his new girlfriend. And what was even so real about it is I had just seen him, I think 2 nights before, and he was having like a meltdown in my car, like a freak out. And
Hmm.
I said, he's like, you can't go, you can't leave. And I was like, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. Like, I have to go. And he's like, I
Yeah.
can't go back inside. Like, she's in there. I can't do it. And I'm probably going to get, fucking shit if this ever goes on TikTok, but fuck it.
I won't put this one on TikTok.
And he's like, you can't go. And I was like, okay, take my hair tie, as stupid as that sounds. I was like, put it on your wrist. Like, you're going to be fine. And he put it on his wrist and he was like, okay, like, I feel okay. Like, I don't know what that just did for me, but I feel good. And I said, okay, so now go back inside. Like, you're fine. He's like, okay, I'll talk to you in the morning. So whatever, I found this woman on TikTok and she's like, you gave him something the other day that he was wearing on his wrist and she used that. And I was like,
Yeah.
are you kidding me? And so like that freaked me out because they hit so close to home. But in reality, like, black magic's not real. I don't feel like it's real.
It is real. No, it is real. It's real.
I'm sure it is, but
It's but it was how much she charged you. And what did she
yeah,
say again? So what did she charge you for and how much was it? I can't remember.
it
Isn't it?
was like 10,000,
Jesus.
and it was a bunch of different things. It was like
I'm not laughing
getting,
at you. I'm just laughing because like that's so much money.
no, I laugh at myself because I think that's really ridiculous. It was aligning chakras so that,
Mhm.
you feel better, but most importantly, he feels better, removing black magic, which
Which is a thing. I mean, that is a thing. I know how to do that. I've been trained on how to do that. I believe that's a thing, but yeah.
I believe it's a thing, but I don't believe he had the extent of black magic put on him. I still
Yeah.
believe to this day she hexed him with something because
Yeah.
there's no way in your mind that you stay in a willing relationship like that.
Yeah.
But do I believe to the extent of what I was told and how much money was charged? Absolutely not.
No. It's like honestly, even I, my teacher charges $140 for shamanic healing, and she, you know what I mean? Like the people that do it, that's, we just kind of, that's all it should cost. And you can rebalance chakras and you can remove black magic in one of those sessions. But, and it, I could do it on someone without them there, but like, I don't know. It's just, it's all, because it didn't help either is the thing, right? Like it didn't.
No, it didn't help. It actually made things worse.
Mm,
And so my whole thing was, and like I don't think I've ever talked to anybody about this psychological thought. So tell me your opinion. But I think her energy actually was creating more negative energy to keep me reeled in. Like, I think, I don't know if she was doing anything in the process. I don't know if she was putting more negative energy onto the relationship, but I felt like she was doing something to keep that money flowing, because every week was a new thing that she found.
yeah, that and well, I would just say, so the difference between a shaman and a sorcerer is intent, right? So shaman, and I'm not a shaman, I'm a shamanic practitioner, right? But like anyone walking the shamanic path is, you you're supposed to use everything that you've learned for good to manifest
Yeah.
the best things. Um and when you use them for your own personal gain, which she was doing by charging that much, because
Yeah.
that's overcharging, there's karmic debt that gets incurred because of that. Okay, so this is what shaman believe about this, and you have to be really careful because the more aligned you are, the more quickly your karmic debt gets repaid. So walking this path, I know that if I do anything to incur karmic debt, it's going to get me back immediately, not in the next lifetime or not later in life, but like
Yeah.
now. And it does happen to me the few times I fuck up, and it's very obvious. So I am very, that's why I'm very careful. And but most of the sorcerers that are actually skilled sorcerers like that, it sounds silly to use that word, but it's a real thing. They know how to evade the karmic debt at some point too. But I think still, I think at some point, just even being a client of those practitioners, you're incurring your own karmic debt. So it
100%.
almost makes, I think that's part of it. I think it is spell work, and I think it, yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. There's something that kept you tied to that because of the work she was doing on your behalf.
Oh, 100%. And I believe I definitely paid out my debt with how bad things got, because for me, my relationship with him got worse, but their relationship got stronger. So
And
that,
yeah,
I think
I,
that in its own is my own karma.
yeah, I think it's hard. I look at this person that I'm not, whatever. I He really loved his ex-girlfriend. And he's really had a hard time since they broke up. And I can call her a karmic third party, but like she's been front and center in his life. And I don't know. At this point, honestly, I kind of wish they could work it out because they seem to have found something that worked. He never spent that much time with me. So like at this point, I don't even think, or maybe they're both toxic as fuck, and and like you've seen the same thing. That girlfriend of his is dating someone else now, and she is working on her own healing journey and sobriety and stuff, and like he's not. So she's probably somewhere talking to someone else about him, just like I am. But what a
Yeah.
piece of shit he is doing. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I mean, for me, I feel like they stayed together because he just felt really bad and she made her story really, really bad. And I like to believe that he was too good of a person to, just drop her off. But I think I do that for my own benefit.
I was gonna say, I mean, I don't know, man. It's just people. I do love him enough to know he's a big boy and he makes his
Yeah.
decisions for mine. And so I'm not even going to sit there and try to act like, I think that's where the twin flame thing for me, like why I won't say it anymore and why I don't believe in it, is because like it's too fucking ego driven to think that
Yeah.
that he and I are so beholden to each other. It almost feels controlling in a way.
It I think it is controlling because you are trying to keep a relationship together. Like for me, I was like, I have to be with my twin flame. But no, you don't.
No, and this is what's really sad. So you remember before I got divorced, I told my ex-husband you were gonna meet your person. We're gonna get divorced, and because we don't get along, you're gonna meet your person right away, and then I'm gonna meet mine, and we're all gonna live happily ever after. So like part of it's self-fulfilling prophecy because he met his person right away, and then I met this guy a week later, and I just thought like, oh, this is it. And I realized this week when I went through my dark night of the soul that even since my divorce, I've never felt most people after the divorce go through a dark night of the soul, and I did, but I kind of skipped the whole feeling completely alone without a plan part because I had all my eggs in the basket of the spiritual connection guy that was never anything in 3D. So like I was so fucking delusional. I avoided the whole ego death of like just being alone and learning to take care of yourself because I was like, oh, I'll be remarried within 2 years. Like
Yeah.
I literally was like, we're, by I'll be done with my Cobra insurance through my old employer in May of 2023, and I'll be remarried by then, so I'll be fine. And my lease is up in March 2023, but I'm sure I'll move in with someone then. Like, I've literally believed those things enough that I wasn't doing things to take care of myself. Like, I should
Yeah.
be planning for the future.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. I think it's all about you have to plan for you and what you want to do and not
Yeah.
if you're with somebody. If you are, and that's amazing.
Yes.
And if you're not, that's fine too. Like
Yeah.
sometimes, even being where I am right now in the relationships, sometimes I'm like, oh, like I'm in such a good place. Like I'm going to get married. And then sometimes I'm like, and if I never got married again, I'd be completely fine. If I never
Yeah.
got married to begin with, I'd be completely fine. Like if I never had kids, yeah, it would suck, but I would be okay. Because you're all, you have your specific path in this lifetime.
Yes.
It is what it is.
Yeah, I get like that about the relationship thing now too. Like, and that's what Amy, my teacher, said last week too. The relationship is just the icing on the cake. Like, it
Yeah.
really is. You have to be okay with what you have. And do think relationships are overrated. Like, it's just like having a good job or a nice home or anything else. It's great. It's great.
Yeah,
It's great having a great relationship, but there's always going to be rough parts about it too. It's work just like anything else.
of course. You have to be okay with filling your own cup. And I think that's the part of this that we're at right now is filling our own cups and feels good. You just got to get past it.
Yes, and I will say it too. So, yeah, I was 33 when I had Rad, and I was 30 when I met my ex-husband. So I had this whole thing in my 20s and the end of my 20s where I had to like let go of it all and be like, first of all, my doctor said it was going to be hard for me to get pregnant anyway, and then like I hadn't met the right person, so I had let go of ever being a mom, even though literally my whole life I thought my purpose was to be a mom. Like probably until I was like 28, I was just like that. I am someone's mother. Like,
Yeah.
and so I always knew that purpose was in me, and I had to at some point I just had to let go of it. And then I met Jared, and he didn't want to have kids, and I let go of it. And it's when I started going to the gym and working out and not even worrying about. I was living with Jared, but we did not get along, and I just kind of started ignoring him and taking care of myself and getting in my own energy. And then boom, all of a sudden I was magically pregnant, and it was like, oh, and then my career, like everything was taking off. But it's when I started just like putting my energy every time in life, when I started putting my energy back into me, is when things came back together.
Yeah, I feel that.
You can't
That's the
worry
only
about it.
no, that's the only time things can come back together is when you start putting your energy into yourself because no one's going to put as much energy into you as you'll put into yourself. It's a hard concept to learn and it doesn't happen overnight, but with hard work, you get there. And so,
I know your life is in a much more beautiful place. Not that it wasn't good before, but like just even seeing your transformation in a year is like crazy.
Lord only knows how I got here. So
That's
I
what
feel really good.
yeah, I mean, but that's what quantum leaping I think feels like. Like it's just like so one day you're there.
And the next day I'll be in Puerto Rico with a drink in my hand and
Do
I'll
it.
be
I
loving
know.
life, So
I know.
I think it's all about the journey and how you get there. And the end goal is like, yeah, I'm not where I want to be by any means, but are we ever really where we want to be? No, there's always greater and more, but where I am versus where I was a year ago, where you are versus where you were a year ago,
Yes.
there's a lot of growth. And so that we have to be proud of.
Agreed. All right. Well, I love you. We'll
love
let you go enjoy the rest of your evening, but I will talk to you later.
You can't fuck up your own journey and don't fucking text them is all I have to say.
Thank you, Jilly. I love you.
All right. Love you too.
Bye.